Soul Tribe. I'm getting set up for a Liberated Love live stream. This is the new manifestation of Thursday heart shares that I've been doing. And it's a little bit vulnerable this week because I'm both in the depths of a deep temple training. So I'm immersed. I'm going through some immense process myself, as well as sorting through my garage. So, these kinds of things happen simultaneously. And my husband decided to move my father-in-law into our garage. And that means that we're looking through boxes of love letters and photos and art and past writings, lots and lots of past writings. It's like messages in a bottle. So I'm sorting through all of this, which is also, anyone who knows anything about Feng Shui, it can be very emotional to kind of review all the attachments that we have to stuff and significant stuff that I felt sentimental enough to keep. And so I'm purging, I'm actually detaching, I'm releasing that. And so I'm in that process. And then here's the irony, right? Like, I find these old sexy photos and various sacred sexual journeys that I've been on, and there's a desire now to share it with, with friends, lovers, fans. Like, here's a message in the bottle, and I have, a letter, for example, to my dominatrix from 20 years ago. I posted that, which got flagged. Of course it did. And then my internet, like, that put me in Facebook jail. So I wasn't able to live stream this morning. I had to do this afternoon cast. So I'm happy though. I'm back, and I got a slap on the wrist and learned my lesson. And deeply, like, we joke about the prudishness of what we can and can't share, but I actually am in such gratitude for how fully expressed we are and how Facebook and Instagram helps us connect. And so I know I did violate community standards, and it's not just a joking. It's like, hey, when I'm participating, on a medium in a forum, what are the restrictions of that medium? And it's a deep inquiry as an artist. And I want to talk today about art, and specifically as I point to myself, like, the identity of being an artist. That's what's alive for me. That's what I woke up with, even though this live stream was promised to you. Like, I went to bed saying, hey, I'll talk about my inner marriage. And then I woke up just like, hey, this is really about being an artist for me personally. So let me back up. The intention right now is to celebrate and share and declare where I am in my soul's journey, having crossed this threshold of doing this deep commitment ceremony with the temple training. So there's a journey that's global, and it's with about 200 other souls, sourcing from Haydn, from Bruce Lyon and Janine Marie. They're doing transmissions in New Zealand, and we're holding for 200 other souls that are like emerging and landing and doing soul work together and creating a new culture. And part of this new culture is being online, is being, being able to run Eros with the screen, to run the life force energy, to actually transmit the essence of who we are beyond, our public relations or our PR. By that I mean like the facades and the masks of how we manage, how we look. And so I'm learning a lot about, there's various channels, through which we can actually express ourselves. And I'm very high touch in nature, and I do believe that, like, in the presence of another body, there's so much that can be transmitted, not just through touch, but breath and pheromones, and there's all these channels. And we are, as we evolve, we are beyond the physical. There are these extrasensory perceptions, and there is a fifth dimension that's beyond the 3D world, and part of what I'm moving into and working with and opening up are these limitless capacities, and by limitless I mean not limited by physics. And the internet happens to be this whole fascinating expansion, like technology that expands our physical capacities, but it is still physical. And where I'm going with this is how profound it is to do soul work online. We are making this transition, and the way I look at it is, you don't want to get trapped into the screen and online world and how you look and what that, there's like a way in which that can be our next prison. And it's more like, how do we use those tools to help us break out of, old paradigm prisons? So anytime we want to make a breakthrough, anytime we want to really shift into the next level, it's to mark those thresholds, those rites of passage with ritual. And so, doing ritual and ceremony, with the screen is another whole dimension as well. And to do this marriage ceremony and do it on the screen, I did it in the sacred chamber of my soul tribe in that training, in that container, and I'm penetrating that veil by sharing it here and sharing how what it meant for me personally, because when we do have marriages and weddings, it's often not even about the person, it's about the community, about you coming to celebrate and to to experience that the union, that the merging, of the one who's stepping from two into one. And we were invited to really soul search on what is most sacred, what is it that we want to merge with. And having had beautiful marriage ceremonies in the past, and one that comes to mind is in addition to the ceremonies with my beloved Michael, which we've had multiple ceremonies because we've had multiple incarnations in this almost 20-year marriage. So in addition to that, every time he and I attend a wedding, it's almost like we renew our vows transpersonally through whoever's getting married. And one of the many marriages that we went to was when Annie Sprinkle and Beth Stevens held a ceremony to marry the moon, La Luna, and how we, as I think we were like in the Hollywood Bowl. It was like this huge auditorium. I don't remember where we were in LA, but it was a huge auditorium where we got to all make our own vows to the moon. And that was a very significant, deep shift for me. And similar to that, where it's like, hey, this was an act of radical art. And in Beth's case, it's a ecosexual art. like where we really run energy with the natural beings, including celestial beings. The inquiry before this ceremony was, what is at your soul's edge? What is it that, what from the natural world or mineral world or energetic, like, is it your inner masculine? Is it, your shadow that you're marrying, or, what quality, aspect, entity, and what came through so clearly. I mean, it was bigger than, from the mind for me. And it's like this surrendering of the small self and stepping into service and really serving this world soul. And, as I had made that declaration, as emotional and sloppy as it was in the moment of like, white hot rapture to this is what I'm most committed to right now. And not just right now, it's like through quality of the eternal, from the imminent, like into forever. And what that opened for me was where the places in my small self where I'm most attached, where I'm most identified, constricted. And, I mean, I love. I'm always expanding. I'm always, but the shadow of love, the places where I get the most hurt, the most scared, will often come up. Like when the light is really big, the shadows, tend to come out. And this piece about art and being an artist, like that's the place where I still get most triggered. That's the wound where I'm like, oh, you can say anything you want about about me, or even now I'm not as vulnerable as a mother as like how I'm mothering, and you can say your stuff, but when it comes to artistic critique particularly from people whose perspectives I value, like when I like really respect an artist and then they critique the art, I feel like it's like they're critiquing me. It's so personal. And and so I'm sharing this because I'm clearing out my garage, and I have so many rough drafts and books and plays and sketches and mind maps and like all this material. And what it represents is not just my soul sparks and these ideas and pieces of me, but it also represents like the deep, like hours, the depth of commitment that I've put into creating, and poured myself and my soul and my life force into this work, into these works. And so there's a deep like identity with that, like that it's my unique original work. And I think that there's something in the heart of the artist that tends to attach to like originality, like, oh, this is my unique soul expressing itself, and therefore I'll get significance from what I create. And it's a really, like both personal process to turn inside out as an artist and to like say, I want to give this to the world, I want to like express it, but then how do we express it in a way that it's actually free and we're freed from it and it belongs to the world and we let it go, as opposed to, here, do you like it? Because if you like it, you like me. Or aren't I important or significant or genius? Or, what qualities you want to ascribe to me because I am the creator of it. And I'm seeing this. I'm like, it's just like looking at all these papers. I'm looking at it going, wow, this is a mirror for how my artistic ego has expressed itself, and even the fierce ego that's like, I want to make a contribution to the world, like I want to change the world, I want to make the world a better place, and put my signature on it. And there's nothing wrong with all of this. By the way, I genuinely don't want to be in judgment of artistically that impulse. Those impulses are all divine and beautiful developmentally, perfect for where I have been. And because they're in my face as a mirror, I get to look at what's beyond that, like what's beyond the looking glass. And this is where like the marriage to the world soul is so potent. It's really powerful for me because there's a greater stream of creativity, like a greater, there's a more of an oceanic, as opposed to like a little tributary. There's a access, I feel, to something that's much, much bigger, than the small identity when we let go of, as I'm letting go, and I want to use first person here, as I'm letting go, I'm opening myself, to let the world create through me. I'm opening my channel more. And that's what I feel like I'm doing with this project, is I'm clearing out like old attachments. I'm clearing out old identities. I'm like opening myself so that I can create with less, it's less identity, less of myself present, like hollowing my channel out so I can give, creativity back to itself, back to the world, back to the universe. And so, it's not a surprise, like I'm an art activist. I'm really interested in, making the world a more loving place, offering people, their power, their freedom, their truth back. Like there's definitely a cause that runs through me, or values that course through the intention for which I create. And that's not going away. But what is going away is, it needs to look this way so that it reflects my uniqueness. It's more like, hey, I'm surrendering that separate self so that the world can create through me and I can serve the bigger love, not just, and it doesn't mean I'm transcending. The personal heart is still there. I'm going to put my heart into it as deeply as, as it serves. And so I wanted to share that this marriage for me isn't just a marriage of like, I'm in love with this abstract concept of the world soul. It's like I'm really merging with the world's muses. I'm merging with what is the message. I am a messenger, and as a messenger, I'm pulling from something that's bigger than like self, what I came for, what I have to say. It's like I'm here to channel, what's going to serve the world's soul, and like that's what I'm in service to. It's very exciting for me, and for those of you who are resonating, because I know I'm not alone. And that's the other great part of it, is as I release my individual attachment, I feel myself in a greater spiritual community. I feel the connection to those who are similarly moved, by that same oceanic force. And I want to, invite you to come and play deeper with me. And I want to invite, and I mean, by me, I mean like with us, like play a deeper game, wider way of moving. And so thank you for those of you who've stayed on and listened, and I want to invite you to do this similar inquiry of, what is it that your soul is most committed to, and what do you have to get out of the way so that you can really give yourself to that. And one of the pieces that I recognize, that I really want to get out of the way is how much time and attention I put on this deep, like, okay, how's the book selling or doing, especially now that I'm with these publishers, and I don't actually know. When I used to self-publish my books, I knew exactly how many books were selling. I have no fucking idea. I don't make much money on each book. I just want to share the messages with the world, and I want to let go of that needing to be yeah, the identification with wanting to be a bestseller, for example, was something that was really driving me earlier, and I'm letting that go. I'm more committed to writing my next book and being, a secretary to the world soul and what wants to come through, because that's where the juice is for me. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to hearing what you're marrying or what you're merging with and what you're surrendering, what obstacles you're releasing so that you can create and you can, support this world being a more loving place. I look forward to more. So once I get back on Facebook, I'll be live streaming again next week, and I also love and look forward to being in the conversation of the various, the 2 books that I wrote this year, which is Sex Shamans and 52 Fridays. So if you have read them, send me a picture and a review and stay in touch. Thank you. Blessings.